the Stonewall riots is a part of American history. It really is a human rights story. And so that history is American history. And that's why it's really important that that flag flies at that site.
Hi, welcome to the special edition of Holding Space with Tracy. I am on stage here at the historic Stonewall Inn, and I could not be happier to be here. This place with so much LGBTQ plus history, as it's the birthplace of the modern LGBTQ plus civil rights movement. And my guest today is really special. She is the co-owner of the Stonewall Inn and the co-founder of the Stonewall Gives Back Initiative. Please welcome Stacy Lentz. Hi, welcome Stacy Lentz, co-owner of the Stonewall Inn, where we are today. Thank you so much for being here, and also co-founder of the Stonewall Gives Back.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for being here with us. I'm super excited about having a conversation with you today.
Yes, well, and we were just talking about it. We met at the 2022 Creating Change in San Francisco.
Yep.
And then you were just on a panel that I moderated in LA. So we are meeting across cities.
Yeah, it seems that way, right?
I like this.
I know, it's fantastic. And now you're here at the iconic Stonewall Inn, and I'm so happy that we get to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm really honored. So I always like to begin these conversations, because the world is wild, by asking you sincerely, how are you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And how I am is tired, right? I think we're all kind of tired in this moment. There's just been so much going on and so many attacks on our community. And here we are at the birthplace of the modern LGBTQ rights movement. So my business and partners and I always take it as our responsibility to make sure we keep the bar at the forefront for the fight for equality and everything that happened here in 1969. And it's been exhausting, I'm not going to lie.
Well, you've had a lot going on.
Yeah. So it's just been really tiring, but we hope to find some joy as we're heading into Pride Month and find better days ahead.
Yeah. What keeps you buoyed during these times?
Yeah, I think for me, it's knowing that a younger generation could lose everything tomorrow if we don't educate them on what we all did and even the Stonewall generation did. So we have the rights we have today. I mean, it didn't just happen miraculously. They weren't just given to us. We had to fight for it. And I think that younger generation needs to remember that. And I think they're going to have to fight for it now, too, as we see the entire world kind of move away from equality and to the right.
Yeah, it's interesting that the being tired, because I've said that, and I'm like, I've been protesting and marching. I marched, HIV/AIDS.
Yep.
We were really winning that fight.
Yep.
I've fought for second parent adoption and civil unions and marriage equality, and now just the right to live, right?
Right.
It's exhausting.
It is. It's really tiring. I still acknowledge, with my cis privilege and my white privilege, I have it better than, a lot of folks in our community, especially the trans community. They're just so under attack. Who must be beyond exhausted at this point, as this administration tries to erase their very right to live and exist. But it's just been, for me personally, 20 to 25 years of really trying to make sure that we get equality.
Right. Well, as someone who owns the inn and who's been doing this work, what does it mean to you to be able to carry on this legacy and preserve our history, which is being erased as we speak?
Yeah, it definitely is being erased as we speak. It's an incredible responsibility. I don't take it lightly, and my business partners don't take it lightly either. So we've really tried to focus on making sure that we educate the youth about the history. A lot of people, even in our travels, don't even know what happened at Stonewall. They don't understand what Stonewall means, or why we worked with the Obama administration in 2016 to make the park and the outside area a national monument. A lot of people don't even understand that. So I think it's really trying to educate that younger generation. And to me personally, it's a huge responsibility, but what an honor.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
Right.
It's, the joy of a lifetime in a lot of regards. It's frustrating at times, but it's been incredibly rewarding and difficult.
Right. Well, there's also a lot of misinformation about what actually happened at Stonewall and who were the leading players. And of course, we know, as we go through life, that there were people who were not given credit for their courageous acts back then.
Yeah. I think a lot of the history, I don't know if anybody will really know the accurate history, in fairness. And that's what we like to say. We like to say it was the entire community. Obviously, Marcia and Sylvia played a role for sure.
Stormy
for sure. There's a lot of people that played roles. I don't think we'll ever know exactly how it started or who started it.
I don't how it unfolded.
I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah.
I think the big thing, knowing though, it was a time when our entire community came together and fought back against oppression. And that's the takeaway.
Right.
And I think right now where we are in 2026, where sometimes our community can be divided, taking that lesson out of history, that when we all come together, we can make incredible change.
Right. And also, I mean, I always really like to go back to the height of HIV/AIDS, where lesbians really took care of their queer brothers. So there was a lessening of that divisiveness at that point.
Yeah, 100%. And I always, we're just wrapping up Lesbian Visibility Week.
Yes, we are.
So I always like to talk about the fact that it was lesbian and trans and non-binary folks have done a lot of the carekeeping in our community, and really been at the helm of some of our biggest fights for equality, whether that was Edie Windsor fighting for marriage, whether that was the folks in the 80s, all the lesbians, like you said, taking care of folks that had HIV and AIDS, or even at Stonewall where it was Marcia, Sylvia, and Stormy. So I think there's a lot to that and a lot to remember. But again, I think the entire community really needs to come together. We are at a very precarious time in terms of our movement. And sadly, some of the powers that be are really, really good at dividing us. And
they are, that rhetoric.
Really good at misinformation. So that's why we've got to remember that, we're better when we're together.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And I mean, I know that you were out there making statements. You have a little time now. The flag was removed by the administration, the pride flag, progress flag, from the monument. And there were protests, and you spoke a lot to the press about the importance of this. In now having a little time to think about it, would you talk a little bit about the unfolding of those events? Yeah,
I think we found out that the flag was taken down in the middle of the night, which is ludicrous, right?
Also, lacks courage.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we found out, and we immediately then were some of the first folks to go to the press, and then had reached out to some folks and said, let's organize, let's get people involved, and reached out to Jay Walker and some other folks that are really good at organizing quickly and getting crowds together in different organizations here in New York, because we had to bring attention to this. This was very upsetting. The fact that the administration could come into the birthplace of the LGBTQ rights movement, and not here at the bar, I want to make that clear. Our flags of all its street. Yeah, it was at the monument. People are sometimes confused about that.
Right.
The bar, the footprint of the monument is part of the bar, but the bar is independently and privately owned. We don't have to listen to the government. We would never listen to this administration about what flags we can fly, and we fly them all the time. But to come into that monument and take down that flag was just so upsetting. Obviously, it should have been there for historical reasons, and you can't really fight that. And that's ultimately how, and I think that's why ultimately 4 of these nonprofits were able to sue and get a settlement because of the flag being a historical artifact of this particular site. So it was Equality New York. It was Lambda Legal. It was the New York Greenwich Village Preservation Society, as well as the Gilbert Baker Foundation, which really protects the flag.
And so of course, Gilbert designed the first
That's
pride
right.
flag.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think those were the right 4 organizations to do it, and they were able to secure that. I think also having several different protests, and we as a community, we raised that flag a day later. And I assure you, even if they had not taken that to court, we as a community would have kept re-raising that flag and made sure that it stayed. Because
I wonder what they did with it.
It's interesting. I think they've gone back and asked the National Parks Service if they can get the flag back, that particular flag back. But there's folks that, take care of the park, a gentleman by the name of Steve Menendez, who does a lot with the park and a lot with the flags. So I think it's just really important and impactful for people to understand that them doing this was also not about the flag necessarily. It was about trying to race us again.
Of course.
And that's really what this was about. And that's why we were so outraged. And hopefully some of the press and awareness we were able to get happening around it educated that generation around the Stonewall Inn and why it's important.
Right. I think there's a little bit of a sense of not really understanding our history or why we need to know it.
Right.
But so many things are cyclical, so let's not repeat those things.
Yeah. And again, especially, this wasn't the first attack on the monument, right? They erased, trans folks from the website around the monument. They then erased queer, they erased bi. So they've been attacking that particular site because the federal government controls it, which is another reason, personally, I think that we have to be careful how we let our stories be told, knowing that our community needs to really be the caretakers of history, because right now I don't know if we can trust, certainly not this administration or governments going forward, to be able to accurately portray our history and accurately take care of these spaces.
Yes, I agree. And that's why I've always been so adamant about, having worked for the Advocate and, the one institution, the importance of keeping our archives safe, because we're the ones who have to do it.
That's right. And it is our storytelling. And it was something, that I kept reiterating a lot to the press, because I think it's just very important. Again, the Stonewall riots is a part of American history. It really is a human rights story. And so that history is American history. And that's why it's really important that flag flies at that site along with the American flag.
Yeah. Thank you, Stacy. I want to switch gears a little. It is a great year for queer people on Broadway. What are you into on Broadway right now?
Well, it's interesting because of everything that's been going on. I haven't had a lot of time to see a lot of shows, but obviously I want to see the new retake on Cats, Jellicle Ball.
Cats, the Jellicle Ball. That's getting a lot of love.
Really interested in seeing that. And then also Rocky Horror.
Rocky Horror,
I mean, it's got 3 queer cast members that are coming up. So I'm really excited to see that. It's funny, I am a huge Broadway fan. So I'm really excited to see those, and I think it'll be interesting. Another one I have not yet, that is another one I would like to see, is Jesse Tyler Ferguson in True, where he plays Truman Capote. So that could be a very interesting
That's
kind of play.
One. Yeah, I'm trying to see Titanic. It looks like a who.
Right.
But there's so much. We were at the Beaches premiere last week, and just looking down 44th Street, it was the Jellicle Ball, Titanic, Beaches, which is, really a love story between women.
And then you've also got Dylan Mulvaney in 6, right? Which would be a really cool moment to see as well.
I know there's so much going on. Well, would you talk a little bit about the Stonewall Initiative and Stonewall Gives Back and how it has changed in recent years, especially?
So we, after hosting hundreds and thousands of different charity events and fundraisers for other organizations here at the bar, we're heading into 2019 World Pride and Stonewall 50. We were getting so many calls and interest from corporations that wanted to partner with us at the Stonewall Inn. And we really said, okay, this is a great way for us to give back to the community. So we really started with getting all these corporate sponsors, which is not easy to get now, and we can dive into that. But really, we're able to take this corporate money and kind of act like Robin Hood, because we got to give it back to grassroots organizations on the ground that were actually doing the work. We specifically have done and funded grassroots organizations that were BIPOC and trans-led by design, because even in 2026, they still may not be able to get into the rooms that I can, which is wrong on so many levels. So really understanding that, we really wanted to focus on giving back to BIPOC orgs. And then in 2019, we also started our Safe Spaces initiative, where we really certify venues, bars, restaurants, concerts, stadiums, things of that nature to become certified Stonewall Inn Gives Back safe spaces. So that's been really great as well, because the Stonewall Inn, even though it was mafia-run and kind of dirty in the 60s and things of that nature, it was our community's original and first safe space.
But everything was mafia-run back then, right?
Right,
Like, weren't
exactly.
most of the bars.
Almost all the gay bars.
Yeah.
So for us, it was really ability to say, as the original safe space, let's take this on. And there's many components of it, but it has a training component, and it has 8 different criteria that different organizations help us put together. And we really wanted to know what makes a safe space for everyone. So we went to Alabama and we partnered with the Black trans-led organizations, and we said, what makes a safe space to you, and what do you want to see corporations and businesses that say they're on our side actually do?
Yeah.
And that was fascinating. We held a focus group to see how that happened. And then we actually went to Texas. And we went down to El Paso on the border and had conversations with LGBTQ immigrants. And we asked the same question: what makes a safe space? What can businesses do? And then we wanted to see how religion plays into this. So we worked with the Utah Pride Center and talked to ex-Mormons in the LGBT community center and asked these questions. And then we talked to global leaders. So it really is a very thought-out, well-designed program that we have, kind of certifying these places. So our community knows when they walk in there that this business is not just throwing up a rainbow flag and rainbow washing or being performative. They're actually doing the work.
That's important, because there's especially around Pride Month, there's so much.
Yeah, so much going on. And now it's global, and we've designed a heat map that showcases all the LGBTQ spaces that have been certified.
Yeah.
We've got 20 in Italy, which is pretty crazy right now. We're launching our first 4 in Finland. We have several in the UK and then many here in the US. But it's been a really cool journey to get people on board and to really showcase those that are doing it right when so many businesses are now doing it wrong. So many companies are turning their back on us.
Buckling to
That's
the
right.
pressure.
That's right. We're seeing that prides all over the country that could potentially close because they're losing funding. We're seeing so many businesses and corporations really backing down.
Nonprofits that are struggling.
I get 20 emails a day asking for grants from us because of all these small grassroots organizations that have lost funding, either through this administration cutting on a federal level or from actually state levels or from these businesses that they rely on. So it's a way for us not to call out businesses, but really showcase the ones that are staying with us right now, which is super important.
Yeah, I love that, and necessary. Yeah, thank you. Well, here we are. Stacy, what is your Defying Gravity, that piece of art, music, film, TV, literature that's been with you throughout much of your life, and its meaning possibly changes over time?
Yeah, so for me, the first movie musical I ever saw in 1977 was Pete's Dragon.
Oh, I remember Pete's Dragon, sure.
And for me, that has always stayed with me because it's about a boy who is orphaned, who doesn't have a family. And in the end, it's really about chosen family. And that's what it's always been about for me. They even have a song in there talking about there's room for everybody in this world if everybody makes some room. And I think that's still relevant to this day. And it's kind of shaped my work around chosen families and making sure that everyone has space.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting one. It was a Disney movie, right?
It was a Disney movie. And funny enough, I still have the original cast album with Mickey Rooney, Helen Reddy, and Shelley Winters. And by the way, if anybody from Disney is listening, Pete's Dragon needs to be on Broadway. It definitely needs to be on Broadway.
That's a good set piece for a designer designing that dragon.
And it's also set around a bar in this town where all the town comes together in a bar, and that's kind of their safe space. And it's about a magical dragon who doesn't fit in. And it's just a really cool thing that's always stuck with me since I was little.
I love that. Well, thank you for that very Gen X answer.
Right. I'm showing my age, but it's okay.
Hey, you know what? We're here. We are here.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get to a little bit of background. You grew up in Kansas?
Yes.
And would you talk about growing up there?
Yeah.
And, as being
an
eventual queer person?
Yeah. It was, I grew up in the 70s, obviously, in the middle of cornfield, in the middle of nowhere. I had 16 kids in my high school graduating class. 1-6.
Wow.
And it was the same 16 from kindergarten to senior year, in a very farm area. So for me, there was no LGBTQ person in sight. There was really not anyone even on TV yet. You know, Roseanne didn't exist, Ellen didn't exist. No lesbians, nobody really existed.
The biggest, I have to say, for me as a kid, Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
Because they were roommates and they shared a bedroom.
Right.
And then later, The Facts of Life.
Yeah, The Facts of Life, 100%.
was formative.
Yeah. I had a crush on Blair and wanted to be Joe.
Me too. I don't know if I wanted to be Joe, but I did. I always had a thing for the Blair type because she was also a little bitchy, which I really liked.
Yeah. So I think, growing up there for me, it was difficult. It was really, really hard because I didn't even understand what being a lesbian really meant or was all about. And then I went to school. I went to Kansas State, and then I moved to D.C. for 2 years, knocking on doors and working for the Clinton Gore campaign in 1992, knocking on doors, which was interesting. So I've always had a bent for politics.
Yeah, when did that really come into
I have a
focus?
I majored in journalism, have a minor in poli-sci. So I kind of use both of those things in what I do today, which is odd for a lot of folks. But so I've always was interested. So when I moved to D.C., I worked for Maryland Citizen Action Group and was already a community organizer and knocking on doors. Yeah, so it was fascinating for me. But I remember coming home in 1994 back to my small town and waking up to all this news on the radio, all over the TV, and everybody just ripping and blasting and being so upset at LGBTQ people. And I was like, what's going on?
This was in 94.
94. And interesting enough, I turned on the radio and they were announcing that in Falls City, Nebraska, which is where my mom grew up, where my grandmother lived, where I spent a lot of time, Brandon Tina was murdered. So that...
Right, I was one,
Yeah, so that played
and of course,
huge...
For context, Brandon Tina, Boys Don't Cry is the film
Boys Don't Cry. Yes.
Brandon Tina.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was gut-wrenching for me because I was about ready to come out, and then I was like, you know what? Look what they do, and look at, and watching, it was just horrific. It happened about 40 miles from my house, and I was 24 at the time, and like I said, my mom went to that high school, and my grandmother lived there and spent a lot of time. I knew some of those folks that were somewhat involved, and it was terrifying. So I was like, I can't come out, and it's just like. But it made me later want to become an activist because I never wanted to have anybody feel like they couldn't be safe or be seen.
Right. And then Matthew Shepard was only 2 years after that.
That's right, in Wyoming, But for me, it was really because it was so close to home that it defined me wanting to become an activist.
Yeah. And so when did you get to the point where you felt like you could come out?
Well, I waited till I really got to New York. I came out when I was, and that was the following year. So I came out when I was around 25 years old.
Okay.
Because I needed to be where it was safe.
Sure.
And queer bars and queer spaces were always where I found my chosen family. I remember walking into Henrietta Hudson for the first time.
And it's still around.
Yeah, and being like, wow, these are my people. Yeah. Because I never got to experience that before. And walking in and being like, this is incredible. There are other people like me, right? And so that just, was forever changed me once I got to New York.
Yeah. What were some of the earliest kind of issues that galvanized you?
I think for me, a lot of it was, yes, somewhat the AIDS crisis for sure. I remember when the quilt came to my college, even at Kansas State, and just weeping like a baby. And then it's hard. And then just hearing stories of entire groups and really a generation of gay men was just wiped out. So that was something that galvanized me for sure. And then obviously, we bought Stonewall in 2006. And then so you got into Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was around 2008. So that was interesting.
Well, when it was repealed.
Yeah, when it was repealed, Right. So there was just different things throughout all of the years. And then marriage and that,
DOMA,
the whole
thing.
Federal law, and then adoption laws. And then obviously before I got into being one of the partners here at Stonewall, I had run high-end executive search and recruiting firms. So I always had an interest in DE&I and was doing DE&I before DE&I was DE&I for years. And so for me, also really doing a lot around making sure people were not fired for being LGBTQ. Workplace protections has always been something I'm passionate about, which is probably one of the reasons why we have the Safe Space Certification Program that really demands businesses do it the right way.
Step up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for that. And well, so here we are. We're sitting on the stage at the upstairs at the Stonewall Inn, which just feels incredible for me. I'm a little overwhelmed by it. So you platform so many artists.
Yeah.
Would you talk about the intersection of art and activism?
Yeah. I really think that activism and art they go hand in hand, right? Because art is about expressing yourself, and so is activism, right?
Yeah.
And so I also feel like art is a way that we feel free, we feel queer joy, and the same comes through activism. So I do think they go hand in hand. To your point, here are some of the artists we've had here. We've obviously, Madonna has been here, Taylor Swift has been here. She performed Shake It Off and helped us, launch our Safe Spaces certification program for cities. It's incredible. Kate Blanchett.
Oh, that's right.
She's done drag on this stage. There's a lot of random ones that you wouldn't even know. I mean, there's so many over the years. And obviously some incredible, queer women and lesbian folks like Muna Fletcher,
Love Muna. And I see a sign for the legendary Lea Delaria.
Leah's here. Leah's been here. And Leah still has a monthly Sunday with us, which is incredible. Yeah. So there's just been so many folks that we've had over the years. A lot of elected officials as well. We've obviously had, President Biden and Dr. Jill has been here. Kamala's been here. So lots of different folks over the years have been here. And it's just been a real pleasure, but it's also been a lot of these incredible activists, I got to tell you, are really more inspiring for me. Yeah. We've hosted folks from the UN, and when you meet activists from Uganda and Kenya, and you hear their stories, like we're in places where the death penalty still exists for being LGBTQ, those are the moments that wreck me the most, but also make me the most proud, because they're in a space that they never thought they could get to. Yeah. And it's just incredible to see.
That's moving. Yeah. I'm going to switch a little bit. What does Pride look like this year here at the Stonewall Inn?
We have back-to-back almost every single night. We have something super fun going on. We're starting off the month on June 1st with the Stonewall Gives Back Initiative. We have an annual Pride kickoff where we bring together, like to your point, activism, artists, folks, and we really celebrate Pride. And it's more like a very big community event, so we're excited about that. And then leading all through the month, we have different kind of organizations and groups, because we give away the space, quite honestly, for free. It operates more like almost like a community center. Space, it's more like a community center than a bar, as it should be. So we're doing all that. So there's so many different organizations and groups that have come in for Pride, and we're super excited about all those.
I love that. Well, I have one official question left for you, but because of all the work that you're doing, I want to make sure that I give you... I keep going there. I want to make sure I give you space to... if there's anything else that you want to make sure that we get out there.
I think it's just really important for folks to know that, again, these queer spaces can't exist unless you support them. Yeah. My friends did the Lesbian Bar Project. We know about lesbian bars closing.
And they do the cruising pod.
I know them. So that's super important. But I would say all LGBTQ bars are at risk right now. Drinking is at a 70% low, which is, I get it. Let's all be healthy. I'm down to. But come in and have a mocktail. Yeah. Come in and get some water and soda. These were our original meeting spaces. Our activism, our movement started in a bar, right? So we need to make sure that queer spaces all over the globe stay open. Right. And it's getting harder and harder with rents and insurance and everything else. So I want to encourage people to go to your local gay bar. And even if you don't drink, walk in, have a conversation with somebody you would never talk to, and sit and have a mocktail.
Yeah. You mentioned Lesbian Visibility Week. So we just came off of that yesterday. The day we were shooting was Lesbian Day of Visibility. And you're a power lesbian.
Yeah, I was named to the Curve Power list for 2026. So
Congratulations!
Thank you. I was super excited about that.
100%.
Yeah,
Yes.
super excited about that.
Yeah.
And Lesbian Visibility Week is so cool. And I had the honor of and happened to know Linda Riley, who started it all.
Of course, from Diva.
Yeah, from
in
Diva
the UK.
in the UK. Yep. And it was really great to talk to Franco, and who runs
course,
Curve, and the whole crew, and really talk about Lesbian Visibility Week, and be honored with incredible lesbian and non-binary folks that are continuing and doing the work, right, or are well known and are out there living an existence that proves to a younger generation that you can be successful, you can make change, and you can have an impact.
Yeah, well, would you talk a little bit more about why we need a Lesbian Visibility Week and Day?
Yeah. I think what happens is that sometimes the lesbian word is even disappearing, right? I feel like there's a disappearing L.
Because I mean, I used to not use it. I used to call myself gay.
Yeah.
Because it sounded too clinical.
Yeah.
And it's the only one that has like a qualifier. It's, I'm a lesbian. I'm not just gay, right?
Yeah. So, and I think what happens is, as women and non-binary women, and obviously we have these conversations where, we make less money still than men, right? 73 to 70, maybe 76 on the dollar now. So that's super important. But I think sometimes we get lost within the movement and lost within the conversations. And that's why it's so important. We need to really highlight, what lesbian women and non-binary folks are doing. And I think that's why we have that.
Right. And I think, too, like, if we go back to, say, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, I mean, these were bodily autonomy issues
100%.
that affect cisgender and non-binary women and trans men that people in the larger community weren't considering, and then suddenly, extrapolate that out, and people, Clarence Thomas is coming for your marriage.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're doubly attacked, to your point, right? As women, right? I mean, especially with this current administration, we're really under attack on every level. And I think that's why it needs to be highlighted. And that's really is the importance of that, right? As women, we're having so many different issues around, and it's not even just around Roe v. Wade, it's also around adoption rights.
Yes.
Things of that nature, especially same-sex adoption rights and things of that nature. So I think it's super important that we celebrate this day and this week.
Yeah, thank you. And then my final question, Stacy, what are you holding space for?
I think I'm holding space, hopefully, for a younger generation.
Yeah.
I think that we are going to need them now more than ever. And I think that gives me hope when I have their conversations with them. And it gives me joy when I see them at protests. It makes me excited when I see them out on a dance floor at a queer bar. And that's what I'm holding space for, is for a younger generation. And there's no better platform in the entire world. And I know how lucky I am to be a partner here at the Stonewall Inn to do that.
Well, lucky, but also you made it happen. You're doing the work, right? We have to give you your credit.
Thank you.
Well, Stacy,
I try.
You're doing it. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and for opening up this incredible historic space for holding space with Tracy. I mean, it means a lot to me. And just finally, where can people find you?
So they can find me on Instagram at just my name, Stacy Lentz, or LinkedIn, Stacy Lentz. And you can find Stonewall Gives at Stonewall Gives or stonewallinitiative.org. And the bar is the Stonewall Inn NYC on Instagram and the stonewallinnyc.com.
Incredible. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yes. Holding Space with Tracy is hosted by Tracy E. Gilchrist. That's me. And executive producers are Tracy E. Gilchrist, Joao Del Stella, and Toni Morrison. Co-producer, Mason May. Publicist, Toni Morrison. Editor, Allison Tate. Videography, Kevin Coop and William Mason. And photography, Emily Teague.